everyone, it's Miss Hart again, and today I wanted to be able to show you how to make art with bubbles. Yes, bubbles. So hopefully you have some dish soap or bubbles or even bath bubbles will work for this project. So I'm going to show you two different projects. The first one here is a simple one, so it won't take you as long, and it's using bubble painting to make these really pretty hydrangea flowers. They're big flowers, grow in bushes, often come in very pastel colors. Pastel means light, and so we're use bubble painting to do that one, a smaller, simpler project. And you can also use bubble painting to make this fun Easter basket. So it's only a week till spring break, and Easter. So I thought it'd be fun to make this Easter basket using some bubble painting. So I'm going to show you what supplies you'll need, and you can decide whether you want to make just one artwork or both of them, or use bubble painting to make up your own project. But I'm going to show you these two. So before we get started, I'm going to switch it over to just the dot cam, and I'm going to be able to show you also the supplies you're going to need. So here we go. Alright, so I'm going to show you the supplies you're going to need for all of the projects, whether you want to just do this one or this one, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the ones for all of them. Okay, so of course we're going to need some paper. So what paper did I use? The paper that I used here is, again, watercolor paper. You're going to want to make sure you have some kind of thick paper again. So your sketchbook paper is good, or cardstock, or just something that's a little bit thicker than copy paper. Again, if you only have copy paper, you are welcome to try this project. Just know that the paper is a little more flimsy, so it can rip easier. So if you're going to do both projects, you're going to need 2 half pieces of paper and 1 whole piece. If you're just doing the hydrangea project, you're only going to need a half a sheet of paper for that one. But I've already cut all of them, so I'm ready to show you both of them. So again, to make the half sheets, I just folded the big piece in half and then cut it with some scissors. So for this project, you'll need paper. And since we're painting with bubbles, you can use either dish soap. For this one, I used Dawn dish soap, or bubbles if you have bubbles at your house, or you can use some bubble bath. All you're going to need is a small cup to put them in. So very small, okay, and fill it close to the top with water. So what I've done, and I'm going to show you the right way to do it and the wrong way, because the first time I tried it, it didn't work out so well. So I'm going to kind of show you so you don't have the same problems that I did. So for this one, I just filled it up almost to the top with water. Then I added just a drop of dish soap. So if you have bubbles, it's a drop. And then I mixed in, there's 2 things you can mix in. Food coloring if you have it. So I had these gel food colors. They're very pastel though, so they weren't very bright. So I did put a few drops of the blue one in there, but I realized it was too light. It was hard to see when I printed it. So to add to it, I took some watercolor paint that I had in a tube, and I just squeezed it in there until the water turned a really nice blue. So if you don't have watercolor paint, you can just use regular paint. So you can use like craft paint, or pretty much any kind of paint you have is going to be fine except for oil paint. Oil and water don't mix. So any paint you have that your kids use at home will work fine to add into the water. Or if you have really bright, not pastel food colors, it'll work too. I've done this a lot with my middle school artists, and we use just bright food coloring. So that's how I mix my mixture. Now what not to do is I tried to use one of my plain like water cups, and I thought I'd use the red food coloring, but this cup was too big, so I found that if you have a lot of water in a cup, you need a lot more dye, so it becomes more diluted. So you want to make sure you have a small cup. I'm just using like a condiment cup here, a small cup, and fill it up almost to the top with water, and then a drop of dish soap and food coloring or paint, or both. For this one, I have both in mine. So I have made 2 colors. Make as many colors as you want. This one I use purple and blue. So again, mostly I'm using my watercolor paint. You can see here, this one's actually called gouache, which is a more opaque watercolor, but any kind of paint will work except for oil. So that's that. So paper, your dish soap, your cup of water, and your food coloring. You will need a straw for this. It can be a plastic disposable straw you get from like a takeout restaurant, or you can use like one of those straws you have at your house from a cup. Just make sure you wash it really well when you're done. Some sort of straw. You're going to need scissors, you're going to need glue. Now, I usually use glue sticks, and if you have glue sticks, I recommend using those, but I don't have any glue sticks at my house, so I'm just using some Elmer's glue, and it doesn't have to be clear. Some kind of glue. And then you'll also need a pencil to draw your eggs with if you're doing the eggs. And then if you choose to do your hydrangeas, you either need to color some paper green with a marker or crayon, or have some green construction paper. So I just have some green paper here handy at my house, but if you don't have green, just take a marker and color it in green. And then the last thing you'll have to add some decorations would be crayons and or markers or colored pencils. Whatever you prefer, whatever you have at your house, use that. So there's all your supplies. Seems like a lot, but if you want to do this one, you only need paper, bubble paint, green paper, and some crayons. So this one's a little simpler, whereas this one uses a whole lot more supplies. Oh, and one more thing, if you're doing this one, you are going to need some craft paint. So I just have some acrylic paint, brown and green. Again, if you don't have acrylic, you can use tempera, watercolor. Any of that is fine, as long as it's like a liquid paint and not the dry paint. Okay, so to start off with, if I'm going to be bubble painting, and I've already mixed my mixture like I showed you in a small cup, here's how you're going to do it. So I'm going to clear off a spot. I'm going to show you how to make this one first. So this one, I'm going to take a half sheet of paper, and I'm going to move my cups of water a little closer so you can see them. So this one, I put it on top of a paper towel because it does tend to overflow a little bit. It's bubble painting. So here's where the bubbles come into play. Super fun part. Take your straw. Pick a color you want to start with. Make sure you're blowing into the straw. You don't want to drink paint. Remember, we talked about this in our class, art safety. We got to be safe when we make our art. So blow into the straw, okay? So stick your straw barely in the water and then just blow like this. It's going to make bubbles. Probably done this in your drink at home before. Now you want to make sure you can actually see the paint in the bubbles. Sometimes if you don't have it stirred up really well, and I found this out, the bubbles look clear. So this one, the bubbles look clear, and that means it's going to print clear. So that's just a tip. Take a paintbrush or even your straw and stir up your paint until your bubbles turn purple. You can see now the bubbles are turning purple. So you want to make sure you can actually see the dye in your bubbles and the bubbles aren't just clear. Okay, so let's try that again. You want to blow it just so it's a little bit above the cup. Then take your paper, stick it on top, and flip it over. And you can see it started to make a print. Now I want to leave those there because the longer you leave those little bubbles there, it's actually going to make those shapes on your paper. So like you can see on this one, you can see those shapes, those circular bubble shapes on there. So I'm going to keep doing that until I fill my page. So again, just blowing. I'm making sure you can see the color in there. Stick it on, lift it up. So now I'm going to try some blue ones. So you can use the same straw as long as you're using your own straw and not sharing your straws with other people. So this one I can really see the blue in the bubbles, so it should make a good print. Yep, there we go. So you can see the more dye you use in it, the more darker your colors is going to be. Like I said, I had pastel colors, so mine's not as bright. So we can stir up your paint kind of in between and then blow. Like that. And you just want to kind of fill your page up with these flower shapes. So I'm going to do two more. One blue. Pressing your paper on, lifting up. It's okay if they overlap. Flowers overlap in real life. Remember, overlap means one is on top of another one. Then one more purple one. There we go. So I've kind of filled my page, but I still have a little bit in the corner, so maybe just one more. And take my straw. So you can see why you want to have a paper towel. It does kind of drip out. But again, it has soap in it, so it's really easy to clean up. There we go. So I'm going to set this aside to dry a little bit so my bubbles can dry a little bit more. While it's drying, I'm going to work on my eggs. So if you're doing the hydrangea project, you might want to skip ahead. But if you want to do both, you can go ahead and set it aside to dry while you make your eggs. So to make my eggs, before I did any bubble printing, so I'm going to slide this up. I took my other half sheet of watercolor paper and a pencil, and I drew some egg shapes. Remember, when we're drawing egg shapes, the top, kind of like an upside down letter U shape, and then the bottom is a lot bigger. Eggs are bigger on the bottom, smaller on the top. So draw as many eggs as you want in your basket. For this one, I think I'm just going to make 5. So upside down letter U, and then a right side up letter U, and you can see bigger on top, smaller on bottom. Maybe I'm going to turn these sideways since I ran out of room. If you need to, you can print out some egg shapes on the computer. But those aren't too hard. Kind of like ovals, but make sure one side is bigger than the other side, right? Bigger. Okay? Now that we have it drawn lightly in pencil, then we're going to do our bubble printing on top. So it's kind of like you're dyeing your own Easter eggs, but you're using paper and bubbles. So now I'm again take my straw. Remember, make sure you stir it up, either with paintbrush or a straw, so you can actually see the color in the bubbles. Otherwise, it won't print. Blow in there and put your paper on top. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I get all of my eggs. So this one, you only have to focus on your eggs. Eggs. Oh, that one's a good one, right? So you can see I'm leaving the bubbles on there to leave those little round shapes. So you just keep blowing your bubbles and printing them on top until you're happy with it. Print. Ooh, that was a nice dark one. Do a few more, and then I'll go back to my hydrangea while these are drying. Alright, so there we go. I got all my eggs kind of dyed, and some of them are half blue, half pink, and you can choose whatever colors, make as many colors as you want. When you're done, you just pour this out down the sink. It's just soap and dye, it won't hurt anything, and throw away your straw. So I'm going to go ahead and set those to the side because I'm done with them. Alright, so while that's going to dry, because I want to draw on top of it some designs for my Easter eggs, I'm going to go back to my hydrangea project. So you can see for this one, I just took a green crayon and colored anywhere that I did not print. So this is kind of like the bush that your flower is growing in. So take a green crayon, green marker, green colored pencil, whatever you have at your house, and find the spaces that you didn't print on to make your hydrangea. And a few more. Then, once you have that, you can find a color that matches your hydrangeas. So for mine, it's like a purplish pink and a blue, and kind of outline them. Kind of gives them some more definition, which means makes them more detailed. So I'm going to find like a pinkish red one and a light blue. And I'm just going to kind of outline around my flowers to give them better shape. Like that, and then maybe this one's going behind another one. There we go, and then I'm going to take the blue and do the same on the blue flowers, and the blue matches very well. There we go. Now, to make your flowers even look more three-dimensional, more realistic, is to add some green. Now, if you don't have green, you can draw these on green paper. You can draw them on here, or you can take regular paper, color it green, and add the veins to it. So I'm just going to take a marker for this, since it stands out a little better, and some green paper. So this is just some scrap paper I had at my house. I already used some to cut other things out. I'm going to take a dark green marker. And look, I'm just going to draw all these kind of leaf shapes. So, letter V, right, and a point. And then leaves, remember, have veins in them. So, a line all the way through the middle. And then some stripes. Make as many leaves as you want. For this one, I think I'm just going to make 3. Some can be smaller and bigger. Some can be more pointy, like a pyramid. Some can be more rounded. So, I'm going to do that one again, letter V. Point up. Line in the middle, stripes, which are called veins. It's how the leaves get water. Once you have those, take your handy dandy scissors and cut it out. Now remember, when we're cutting things, often I like to messy cut, which is where you cut out around the main object first. That way you don't have this big paper to hold on to. So set that aside. Now I can cut out my details. Like that. And you can kind of position them as you go. Maybe you want that one there. This is a bigger leaf. Careful cutting, doing my best to stay on the line. Maybe you want that one over here. And then I have one more little one left. You can save your scrap paper, make something out of it later, or you can recycle it or put it in the trash can. That's up to you. There we go. Now I can put that there. So now I'm ready to glue it down. Like I said, glue sticks are what I really love using, but I don't have any at my house. So use what you have at your house. So I'm just using this glue. Make sure it's twisted up. Squeeze a little out. And push down. Always put glue on what you're actually gluing and not on your paper. A lot of times we want to put it on the paper and then we have this extra glue. Put it on what you're actually going to glue down. That way you know how big your glue dot needs to be. Remember, if you're using liquid glue, dot to dot, not a lot, because you don't want too much glue. Alright, a little glue goes a long way. And there we go. And if you were doing this project with me, you'd be done. You have this nice close-up of some hydrangea flowers. But if you're continuing with me and you want to do both projects, here's where we're going back to those eggs that we bubble printed. So it's nice and dry. Dries pretty fast. So I'm just going to take some crayons, any color. So I'm just going to grab a few colors that I have here. And I'm going to decorate my eggs with those colors. So mainly some blues, purples, and pinks here. So think about how to decorate your eggs. They can have zigzags on them, like this. They can have polka dots too, so maybe zigzag and polka dots. They could have swirls, so maybe you want some to have some kind of swirls on there. Again, you can use crayons, markers, or color pencils. I'm just using crayons for mine. You could have polka dots, so maybe this polka dot's going off the side of the egg. Big polka dots, little polka dots. You can have an egg that maybe just has some stripes on it, different colors, so maybe some blue stripes, some pink stripes, and some purple stripes. So be creative how you decorate your egg, but you can still see the bubble printing behind it, right? Not just coloring your egg in solid. And then maybe for this one, I have some wavy lines, and then these are some of my favorite. I call them looped lines, but they remind me of a roller coaster going up and around, up and around. And then maybe the top just has some curves on it. So be creative, decorate your eggs with a little bit of design. Think about the different types of lines we use in art class. Now that you're happy with those, I'm going to set them aside so I can make my basket. So for the basket, I use something else that you have at your house already because you use it to eat with. Okay, so that is a fork. Now you can use plastic disposable fork, get one from a restaurant, takeout restaurant, or you can use a fork from your house. Just make sure you wash it really well if you use it. Okay, so I've used the same plate forever, just add more paint to it. As a paint palette, you can use some aluminum foil, some plastic wrap, some old newspaper, old magazine, but the paint I'm using to make my basket and my grass is just some craft paint. So this is Craft Smart acrylic paint. It can be any kind of liquid paint. So I just put some out here on the plate, and I'm going to dip my fork into it. So here's how we're going to make our basket for our egg. You're going to take our fork, start in the middle of your paper, so you have room for the handle of your basket, and you're going to go push down, lift up, get some more paint, push down, lift up, push down, lift up. And look, I'm turning the way I go because baskets are woven, right? So I want to make it look like it's woven. So I'm going sideways and then I'm going up and down, horizontal and vertical, right? So if I went vertical on this one, I'm going to go horizontal, which means side to side on that one. So vertical, up and down, horizontal, side to side. Just keep dipping back into your paint until you make your basket as big as you want it to be. So I'm going to keep going for a few more rows. So again, vertical is up and down, horizontal is side to side, and it kind of makes it look like a woven basket, right? Horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical. And I think I'm happy with that. That's a nice, pretty big basket. Now the handle, right? Often baskets have handles so you can hold them while you're going to find all your Easter eggs. So here we go. For the handle, I'm going to kind of turn it sideways just a little bit. I'm going to go vertical, means up and down. Horizontal is side to side, and vertical, but I'm kind of going around in like a loop. Vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. You're just going to keep going until you get back to the other side. Vertical, so it's almost touching the top of the paper, and that's fine. Horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. So now I have a nice big Easter basket for my eggs. So while that's drying, I am going to do my grass. So you may want to put some newspaper or old paper down so you don't get it on your table. So I just used some green paint here. I've squirted some out so I'm kind of spread it out first. You're going to take your fork, same thing, but instead of going horizontal and vertical, I'm just going to go vertical on this one and kind of pull it down as I go. And notice that creates the texture of grass. We talk a lot about texture in art class. Remember, what is texture? How something feels. So we're making the texture of grass with all those different little strands of grass sticking up. So just kind of push it onto the paper and pull it down. And that creates the texture of some grass for your Easter basket to be sitting in. Alright, so there's my grass texture. Now while this is drying, I'm going to go back and cut out my eggs. And I'm going to show you how to make a bow if you want. So here's my finished one. And my finished one, you can see I've done my basket, my grass. Now, I went back and I painted this with some watercolors. So I have these watercolors at my house right here. If you don't have those, you can color the background with markers, color pencils, crayons. Just pick a color for your sky. I even went around after my green paint dried and I colored that in green. And then I colored this in brown. So again, you can use crayons, color pencils. You don't have to use paint for that. That's just something I had, so I used it. But use what you have at home and be creative. So, but you can see here that I made a bow, and I used the leftover from my eggs to do that. So first off, I am going to cut out my eggs on the pencil line that I drew. So that's why I drew them first, and my pencil line was already there. So that's one egg. So you made as many eggs as you wanted. I made 5. But you want to make more than one because an Easter egg hunt would be no fun. But just one egg to find. Alright. Careful cutting, remember. Taking your time. There we go. And 2 more. After you get all your eggs cut out, don't throw away your scraps. I'm going to show you how to make that bow. One more. Alright, so I have this leftover and it still has this my really cool bubble print on it. So take a pencil or crayon and here's how you draw a bow. Super easy. Start off with a circle and then 2 triangles on the side. Now try to make the edges of the triangle rounded instead of pointy. But it still has 3 sides like a triangle. So that's like the main part of the bow, this part. Now for these strands, it's just a rectangle. And when we cut it out, I'll show you how to make this kind of like mountain shape or letter V shape cut out of it. So just find some empty strands, kind of draw a rectangle shape. So you need 2 of those. 2 rectangle shapes. So you can see here, 1, 2. And I'm drawing lightly because we really don't want to see the pencil when we're done. We just want it there so we know where to cut. So use your extras to make a bow if you want. Again, this is extra. You don't have to have it, but it's something fun to add because a lot of times Easter baskets have bows on them. There we go. And then cut out your 2 rectangles. And then we'll be ready to assemble. And I'll let you paint your background how you want. And again, you can recycle or throw away your scraps or make other art with them. So now my rectangles that I cut out, I want to take and cut like a mountain shape out of it. Or if you look at it upside down, it's like a letter V, right? That's like a ribbon. A lot of times ribbon is cut that way. So be careful and just cut a mountain shape out if you want to. and throw away those little pieces or use them for another project. Now I'm ready to assemble and put everything together like you see on mine. Now you notice on mine that some of my eggs I had to cut so it looks like they're sticking out of the basket, right? So you may have to do that to some of your eggs too. But you want to make sure this painting is completely dry. So this one's still a little wet, but I'm going to kind of show you how to position everything. So maybe like the first 2 eggs, take them and kind of cut them in half a little bit, like that. And then kind of position them where you want. Before you glue them down, before you commit to it, kind of just set them where you think you want them to go. So again, cutting these in half. Now the rest of my eggs, I think they'll be fine whole because you can kind of hide them behind. And like that. Now if you want to draw extra things in your basket, you can, like candy or chocolate bunnies. I love those. Chocolate bunnies are yummy. And then maybe I want this egg still sitting on the grass, so you could glue that there. So this is when you use your glue stick or your liquid glue and glue those down. Same for your bow. Your bow, you would want to glue these 2 pieces to the top up here, and then put this piece on top like that, and then you'd be finished. And this is when you would have fun coloring with color pencils, crayons, markers, your background, so your sky, and you can add extra color to your basket. So I hope you had fun learning some bubble painting and even some printmaking using something as simple as a fork. So these are just some fun techniques you can do. Again, you can choose to do both projects, the hydrangea and the Easter basket, or just one or the other. But remember, I'd love to see your artwork, so share it with me on Artsonia, find the classroom mode option, and upload it there. I'd love to see it, or you can email it to me. But I hope you can keep making art and you are inspired by this artwork. So have a great day and be creative.